Oh, hi there, and welcome back to Minecraft. We're here in the Hollow Mountain 1.21 solo survivor world, and this is episode 5. This episode is all about enchantments. So far this series we've been preparing in order to enchant our gear correctly, so that we can maximise the total amount of enchants in each one. For this, we are once again using the villagers that we bred early in the series to obtain books. I've been working around the clock to secure the perfect trades for this task. In total, we are looking for 20 specific books from our librarian villagers. Sharpness 5, Sweeping Edge 3, Unbreaking 3, Looting 3, Fire Aspect 2, Knockback 2, Mending, Fortune 3, Efficiency 5, Silk Touch, Protection 4, Respiration 3, Aqua Affinity, Feather Falling 4, Depth Strider 3, Thorns 3, Smite 5, Power 5, Punch 2, and Flame. We already have 15 of them, but hopefully we'll get the rest by the end of the video. Now, before we get started, it's important to note that there are multiple different methods available to enchant gear, and as much as there's no wrong way, there are definitely advantages to the method we're going to use today. Let's just very quickly look at the other methods and explain why I don't like using them. For that, we're going to pop into a test world for a moment. First up, the enchantment table. This is the go-to location to enchant your gear, and for many people, the only way they ever do it. Come on people, Minecraft's been out for 13 years now, time to move on. So the enchantment table is simple. In order to craft one, you will need 4 pieces of obsidian, 2 diamonds and a book. And then to ensure a level 30 enchantment, you will need at least 15 bookshelves. Then you just add the item you want to enchant to the first slot and lapis lazuli to the second. You get a choice from 3 tier enchantments. The first one gives you a lower level enchantment and the last one gives you a higher. Either way, you can see a sneak peek of the enchantment when you hover over it, but it's still random. We know this one is going to give us looting 3, but beyond that is anyone's guess. In order to get this one, we're going to need to have at least 30 levels, but it will only use 3. So that gave us looting 3 and unbreaking 3. That's alright, but nowhere near what we want. Now you can obviously do this multiple times until you get the combination of enchantments you want. And if you come across an offer that you don't like, you can just do a dummy level 1 enchantment and reset them until you find what you're looking for. Then combine them using an anvil. Ultimately though, the enchantment table will always be random. The next method is very similar, but instead of enchanting and combining the tools and armour directly, you use books. The important thing to note is that not all methods produce the same outcome. If not done correctly, it can be very easy to outprice the item. Let's use a sword for example. I want my sword to have the following enchantments: Sharpness 5, Sweeping Edge 3, Looting 3, Fire Aspect 2, Knockback 2, Unbreaking 3, and Mending. Let's say, for example, you've sourced the required books to combine, and they're all level 1 books. If you combine 2 level 1 enchantments, you'll get a level 2 enchantment. 2 level 2 enchantments will get you a level 3, and so on and so on. Now, watch what happens when we combine all of these books to max out the enchantments. This one is too expensive already, and all we have on there is Sharpness 5 and Mending. Why did this happen? Well, anvils have a limit of 39 levels, and will reject repairs if the item is beyond that level. Every time we combine the books, it pushed the cost up exponentially. Side note, the cost limit does not apply to creative mode. But if you're in creative mode, you don't really need to enchant items, do you? So how do you avoid the too expensive message? Let's go back to the survival world. Now we're going to attempt to make the same sword, but this time all the books were obtained at the highest possible level. That's why we have so many villagers. We've been cycling through trades by placing and removing lecterns until a villager starts with a book that we want. Then we max out the villager. Sometimes they come with 2 or more books that we want. So let's grab a Mending book from Lord Master Trot, Knockback 2 from Dwim MC, Sweeping Edge 3 from Datwa 1532, Unbreaking 3 from Flam3Z895, Looting 3 from Rachel Allison-B3V, Sharpness 5 from Zikan 0826, and Fire Aspect 2 from Flying Dragon 4613. For anyone wondering, the villagers are all named after people who have commented on the series. And now, finally, we're ready to start enchanting. Let's start by adding Looting 3 to the sword using 6 levels. Then we'll add Sweeping Edge 3 to Unbreaking 3, that's only 3 levels. Next up, we'll add Sweeping Edge 3 and Unbreaking book to the Looting sword, that's another 11 levels. Then we can combine Sharpness 5 with Knockback 2 for 2 levels, and add those to the sword for a further 11 levels. We can then add Fire Aspect 2 to the Mending book for 2 levels, and then finally put that on the sword for another 14 levels. And now we have a pretty decent sword. I wanted to start with this one for 2 reasons. First off, we actually had all the books ready for it, so that's handy. But also, more importantly, we can now use this sword to help gain the XP needed for the rest of the gear. Sweeping Edge and Sharpness 5 means that we can slice through the group of zombies like butter. And Unbreaking 3 and Mending means that we shouldn't ever break this. So we have XP, but we're still a few books short. Let's cycle through trades with the villagers and see what we can get. Smite 5 is on the list. Let's lock it in with the trade, then we'll max out the guy and see what else he wants to offer. Okay, well nothing else we needed in there, but we have to check as it could have meant working one less villager. Oh, and I almost forgot, I wanted to name all my gear. Learn from my mistakes, people, and name the items while you're combining enchantments. It's much cheaper that way. More XP, now to work on the axe. We'll need Efficiency 5 from an unnamed villager, Smite 5 from another unnamed villager, Mending from Lord Master Trot, Unbreaking 3 from Flam 3Z895, and Silk Touch from Lord Master Trot. Let's start by adding Efficiency 5 to the axe, which costs 5 levels, then combine Smite 5 with Unbreaking 3 for 3 levels. The Silk Touch and the Mending book can be added together for 2 levels. Then we can add that book to the Smite and Unbreaking book for a further 8 levels. Grab some more XP. Do bear in mind that all levels have the same value when it comes to enchanting, but the lower levels cost less experience points than the higher ones. For example, you can go from level 0 to 1 and you only need 7 XP, whereas it would cost 112 XP points to get from level 30 to 31. It makes sense to use the lower level. Finally, we add the Smite, Unbreaking, Silk and Mending book to the axe for 18 levels, but this time remembering to name the item at the same time, which only costs 1 extra level as we're already making changes. All done! Now all we have to do is put the axe in our offhand while we kill mobs, and Mending will do its thing. Let's very quickly go through the rest of the tools as we already have the books. The great thing about using villagers for books is that once you've unlocked the trade, the villager will provide an infinite number of the same book, which is so much better than the randomness of the enchantment table. So pickaxe 1 will need Mending and Fortune 3 for 6 levels, Unbreaking 3 and Efficiency 5 for 5 levels. We can then combine the Mending, Fortune book with the Unbreaking and Efficiency book for 10 levels, and finally add it all together to the pickaxe with a name change for 20 more levels. Rinse and repeat for pickaxe 2, the only difference is we're using Silk Touch instead of Fortune 3. And for the shovel, we have used Silk Touch, Efficiency 5, Unbreaking 3 and Mending. And not forgetting the name change, let's just call it what it is, shall we? And that's all our tools sorted. All we need now is our armour and bow, but we need to work with the villagers a little bit more first. I think you can probably see where we're going with this now. No point boring you with the villagers side. Instead, I wanted to start adding some paths around the trading village, so I'll catch up with you once I have all the books. While laying out the path, I've added in placeholders for another 5 villager houses. I'm on the fence whether to add one over here. Visually, I think it will look quite nice, but I don't want to build anything too close to the iron farm and start messing with that. I need to count out the blocks, but essentially we need to keep the village and the iron farm apart by about 64 blocks, at least. Worst case, I can build a house there and use it for a storage room or something. As for the design of the path, it's very much a work in progress. We definitely need to add some colour to the village, as I don't want it all being grey and bland. But once the buildings start going in, we can work on a bit more of the aesthetics and finer details. The plan for the village is to use all the space on this level, and maybe a little bit more, depending on how many villagers we end up with. We have a fair bit of space up here, and absolutely loads more if we go deeper into the cave. We'll have to come back at some point and replace the torches with more natural light as well. Ultimately, I would like one of every villager trade as possible, but that might be pushing it. I'm going to continue to group the villagers into houses based on their profession, and we'll probably style the houses slightly differently for each occupation. As for the area here, I think it would look quite nice with a water fountain, or maybe a well. I'll have a think. Anyway, back to enchantments. We now have enough villagers in order to finish our gear. I'm thinking next up should be the bow. For this we'll need the following books: Power 5 from Unnamed Villager, Punch 2 from another Unnamed Villager, Unbreaking 3 from Flam 3Z895, Flame from Lieutenant Kregoroth, Mending from Lord Master Trot. Let's take these back to the zombie XP grinder. First, we want to combine Power 4 with a bow for 5 levels. Then we can put Unbreaking 3 and Mending together for 2 levels. Punch 2 and Flame for another 2 levels. Then we can combine the Flame and Punch 2 book with the Unbreaking 3 and Mending book. This is only 7 levels. Then finally add the bow to the book with a name change for 16 levels. Excellent. Now we just need to grab some arrows. I'm pretty sure I've got some down in the starter base. Ah, only 7. I'm sure I had more than that. Okay, well there's another 8 there. And I thought I left a chest over here. Must have actually cleaned up after myself. Doesn't sound right. Note to self, need to sort out the storage situation. We have random chests everywhere and I can't remember what's in any of them. So I've looked everywhere and we only have 17 arrows. That's not a lot. We'll need to rectify that. The annoying thing is Drossrua has an infinity trade, so we could have gone down that route instead of mending. Tempted to make a second bow now. Let's focus on the armour first though, starting with the helmet. We will need Protection 4 from Unnamed Villager. We also have trades for Projectile Protection 4 with this Unnamed Villager and Blast Protection 4 from Lundy 48, but we don't have any Fire Protection. Not yet. This armour is going to be our general everyday armour, so we're going to stick to just having protection, as it protects you from all sorts of damage, but not as much as the specific other types. We might come back in the future to make other armour types for specific things like nether exploration or maybe boss battles, but for now I'm happy with just general all-purpose armour. Next up we need Aqua Affinity. This is from Lundy 48 too. And we need Respiration 3 from Framework 0139. Oh look, there's another Infinity Villager, Zikan 0826. Unbreaking 3 from Flam 3Z895, and Mending from Lord Master Trot. And finally, Thorns 2 from Remp 52. So we need some XP real quick. Let's add the Respiration 3 book to the helmet, Aqua Affinity and Protection 4 books for 2 levels, more XP. Thorns 2 and Mending books can be combined for 2 levels. Interestingly enough, if you switch the same 2 books around, it will cost 12 levels for the same end result. So it's always worth checking both ways before combining. We can now add Unbreaking 3 to the helmet for 4 levels. Next up we combine the Thorns 2 and Mending book to the Aqua Affinity and Protection book for a further 8 levels. Finally, add that book to the helmet with a name change for just 27 levels. So next up is a chestplate. This one is easy. We need to add Protection 4 to the chestplate for 4 levels, Thorns and Unbreaking 3 for 3 levels, add the Mending book for another 3, then add it all to the chestplate with a name change for another 22 levels. And the leggings are identical to the chestplate. Waiting for these zombies to collect is boring as. I recommend getting a good podcast or something to listen to at the same time. This is just painful. And then finally the boots. We need some different books for this. Depth Strider 3 from Flam 3Z895 and Feather Falling 4 from Lone Ranger 3099. We will start off by adding Depth Strider 3 to the boots for 6 levels. Hey, where did you come from, little dude? Thanks for bringing me feathers. Bless him, he wanted to help with the arrow situation. Next up, Protection, Fall and Unbreaking 3 books for 3 levels, Feather Falling and Thorns for 4 levels, add Mending to the boots for 3 levels. The Feather Falling and Unbreaking book can then be added to the Protection and Unbreaking book for 9 levels. Then finally add it all together with a name change for 30 levels. All done. That was painful, but worth it. We now have what I would consider the perfect everyday armour and tools. It feels good to have the decent stuff. To be safe, I like to leave the Fortune Pick at home. We can collect ores and Silk Touch and then fortune them from the safety of our base. That way, if something happens to me on my travels, I still have the basics required to rebuild my kit. Well, I'm happy with our work today, but I think we need to address the arrow situation now. Well, that looks alright. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I'm not a builder. I do my best. I feel like this house definitely needs something, even if it's just decorating the outside of it. We'll make it work. The important thing is the inside. I've kitted this one out a little bit differently. I'm going for less villagers and allowing for a bit more space for me. And I think I prefer this. So far, we only have the one Fletcher villager. To be honest, I'm not sure how many more we need. Not really interested in bows, I just wanted the arrows. I'll probably fill this house and leave it at that. This guy has exactly what we're looking for. 16 arrows for 1 emerald. I'll take them all, please. Yeah, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that name. Did you fall asleep on the keyboard, dude? All in all, I'm happy with the progress we made this episode. It will certainly help speed things up in the future. Now, I think I'll leave you guys with some final cinematics of the build so far. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.